This video is of Rachel Maddow, and she went on a podcast, and while on it, she says some pretty crazy stuff. But this is just 1 minute long video, so let's listen, and then we can react on the other end.
Was not a meeting of two clashing forces. This was not, Ukraine provoking Russia when they knew they ought not to, but blah, blah, blah. Like the Russian mindset, like people who are like, oh, we need to facilitate peace talks here. Really? I don't know, because it kind of seems like Ukraine was minding its own business and Russia came in and stomped into their house and started setting things on fire. So there's not like a negotiation between the homeowner and the home invader at that point. So the outcome has to be specific to Russia. And we need to do our best to save and to save the Ukrainian people to the extent that they can be saved and protected, and to help the Ukrainian government and military stand up what they need to do to take care of their own people. But Russia needs to lose, because otherwise the lesson of this is that Putin can keep doing this. It's not like this is his first invasion, and it won't be his last.
So that was Rachel Maddow. Now, there's a lot of different things she says in there, JB. But for people who may be listening from across the pond in another country, what if I told you she was a reporter who advocates for war? So how do you think her reporting will be? And that's just a question for the broad audience. But JB, what's your initial reaction? And then we're gonna play it again and kind of break down all the lies that she kind of says in this video. But what's your initial reaction if you have never seen this video before?
She got a PhD in brainwashing. Because she completely overlooked the history of what led to what happened. And she's making it seem like, oh, Putin just decided out of the air to go invade Ukraine. And the question is, what drove him to do so? What was the main mitigating factor that drove him to go to Crimea and to do what he did? And the thing is, she's not going to talk about it, because once you start to actually look at the historical analysis, then that proves what she says to be false. But she doesn't want you to know that. And by the way, wasn't it in court where they argued that the Rachel Maddow show isn't actually news, is technically just entertainment? So why are we taking the views of an entertainer who's not actually telling us news? Why are we taking her view as fact? Because the thing is, she's not telling us fact. She's telling us stories that are untrue.
That is spot on. Now I want to kind of play it again and then break down just the factual stuff that she's saying here. Great overview, but let's listen, and we're going to start and stop throughout this here.
It was not a meeting of two clashing forces. This was not, Ukraine provoking Russia when they knew they ought not to, but blah, blah, blah. Like
what she's leaving out in this context here, and this is what great propagandists do, is that they're very literal. They're very literal, even though they understand that people don't listen literally. So what she's saying isn't technically a lie. Ukraine did not provoke it. The U.S. and NATO provoked it through Ukraine. So now if you want to say Ukraine provoked it in the sense that they allow weapons to be placed there from NATO, if you want to say that, then, but yes. But this is what's so what she understands about propaganda, and why, to me, and Nick have said this before, she is top 10 top propagandist in the United States. So yeah, my thoughts there. We can continue. Where did I lose my footing here? Okay, right here.
Like the Russian mindset, like people who are like, oh, we need to facilitate peace talks here. Really?
That's really jarring to me. that particular part of the whole video, JB, when she says the people who want to facilitate peace, really? Why is peace, even in her own scenario, why would that be a bad thing? Like, even in the scenario she described, unprovoked, there's no reason in Russia. Even if that's true, what's the problem with trying to facilitate peace? And we have to understand, I got to keep saying this, she's media. So she's the person with the bullhorn, constitutional job that this is one of the few jobs mentioned in the Constitution. Politicians not mentioned. The press is. Go ahead, JB. I know you've been wanting to chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah. The Rachel Maddow Show, brought to you by Lockheed Martin.
That's exactly.
Pretty much. That's what it is. And so it's not within the best interest of the military-industrial complex to broker peace, because peace means they stop making money. That's been it. That's pretty much it.
I don't know, because it kind of seems like Ukraine was minding its own business and Russia came in and stomped into their house and started setting things on fire.
False. You're muted right away.
My bad. So Ukraine was minding its own business, and so where did all the NATO weapons come from? If Ukraine was minding its own business, go ahead, JB.
Yeah, if Ukraine was minding its own business, it was minding its own business, killing Russian-speaking Ukrainians in the Donbass. That's what it was doing. It was minding its own business, killing people. That's what it was doing.
I didn't even bring that part up yet. I was rounded around, and JB, you already got us there, and that is absolutely true, because this is the part that she's pretending that never happened. The shelling, the neo-Nazis. Why is it that American media can't seem to find the word neo-Nazis? Why they can't seem to find a U.S.-backed coup in all of the history that we know of, JB? Do you have a particular reasoning why they would do that?
Well, state media never wants to advertise the crimes of the state. So this is why they're not going to do it, because it's state media. And people want to say, oh, well, we have a free media. Bullshit. Here's the thing. RBN is free media, right? INN is free media. There's a lot of different channels, independent media channels that are free media. But when it comes to the United States and the corporate media like ABC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, One American News Network, Newsmax, all these other ones, they're corporate media. They are literally State Department media. So of course they're going, and some will say, well, Fox News and Newsmax and they're talking against the war in Ukraine. Yeah, until it becomes a war with China.
That's true.
Because once it becomes a war with China, then they're going to be banging the drawer drums. Oh, we got to go to war with China. We got to get them. They're going into Taiwan, and we got to save them. Blah, 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 blah. Yakking, smacking. So that's the thing. It's really just one side saying that we need to stop war with Ukraine and with the proxy war in Ukraine and Russia. But then once they go to China, then their xenophobia comes out, and then they're bringing the war drums. Right? Am I wrong? Because next thing you know, it's gonna be like, oh man, well, China, they're invading. They're invading their own state. That's like saying the United States is invading Tennessee. Like, what? Motherfucker, what are you talking about? Invading Tennessee? United States can't invade Tennessee. They own Tennessee. Crazy. But anyways, yeah. So the next point she says, I have an analogy for her, but
we can listen and then you can chime in if you like, if you want to do it that way.
So there's not like a negotiation between the homeowner and the home invader at that point. So
there's not like a negotiation between the homeowner and the home invader. I would like her I would like to ask her or have a conversation with her on that specific analogy, and then say, how does that apply to Palestine?
Okay, I got something being better for you. Ready?
Go ahead.
All right. Let me, Rachel, Miss Maddow, let me ask you this. You're a neighbor, and you live next to someone, and then you hear screams and cries, and you hear somebody saying, "Help me, please help me." And then you go in, you break the door down because you see your neighbor beating their spouse. What do? You just leave it alone? Or do you come in and you actually save the day and stop them from beating their spouse? Ukraine was literally killing Russian-speaking Ukrainians in the Donbass region. And guess who decided to provoke that and allow that to happen? Wasn't the United States? Who led a coup in 2014 and ousted Yanukovych? Who did that? Wasn't it Ukraine? Wasn't it at the behest of the United States? Oh, wait. So that was a provoke action to place more more NATO weapons at the border of Russia so that they can surround Russia. Let Russia do the same thing. Let Russia, oh, wait. Didn't the United States do this before? Wasn't it when they placed missiles in Turkey pointed at Russia during the crisis? And then we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, which Russia responded by placing missiles in Cuba. Because they were like, well, they're, missiles pointed at us, so I guess we got to do the same. But we got to remember who hit first. The United States hit first, right? Guess who's hitting first again? The United States, who responds by hitting back. So here's the crazy part. Really, is Russia hitting first or are they counterpunching? See, that's the question. But the thing is, the people like Rachel Maddow don't want to answer that question because they want to make it seem like, well, Putin just went, I think I'm going to invade Ukraine. When that wasn't the actual story. So when you start to learn the actual backstory of everything that happened, then you learn, oh, wait a minute, the United States is doing it. And then you start to go into why the United States is doing this. And then you start to look at all throughout history, especially since the First and Second World War, that the United States has been doing and going into countries, extracting their resources, causing coups, and putting in puppet governments, that the United States is trying to do exactly the same thing it's always been doing. Same song, different dance. It's been trying to extract resources. Why? Because Russia has a ton of resources that the United States wants. That's it.
A ton. A ton. So let's let this finish out, and then we can get to the Ohio derailment, because I do want to talk about that. Nick and I didn't get a chance. And I'm glad we waited a day because I was able to research more and get more footage and more up-to-date footage and better footage. So we'll cover the Ohio derailment, which is just terrible what's happening over there. But let's finish listening out to Rachel, and then we'll get to that.
The outcome has to be specific to Russia. And we need to do our best to save and to save the Ukrainian people to the extent that they can be.
That's a joke. Exactly. How are they saving them, JB? What are they doing to save them?
Well, peace talks would have did that, but that ship sailed. And that ship sailed because of Biden and Boris Johnson. That's the reason why the ship sailed. But she's not going to talk about that.
Conveniently. Let's continue.
Saved and protected, and to help the Ukrainian government and military stand up what they need to do to take care of their own people. But Russia needs to lose. Because otherwise, the lesson of this is that Putin can keep doing this. It's not like this is his first invasion, and it won't be his last.
Putin can keep fighting against NATO. We can't have that. Putin can keep pushing against NATO expansion, and we can't have that. It's truly astonishing to hear people in the media describe other countries' leaders and other countries, and it's like the United States does that times 10, but we hear nothing from you about the United States. Go ahead, JB. I know you want to chime in.
By her very logic, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Russia, China, Cuba, Venezuela, all should be back together to come and destroy the United States because of the crap that they're doing in other countries. By her very logic, then all these countries need to do with the United States what Ukraine is doing to Russia. By her logic. Because the United States is doing that, like you said, appropriately, times 10. Because guess what? Does Syria have a right to defend itself? Yeah. Does Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq have the right to defend themselves? Yes. Does Somalia have a right to defend itself?
Yep.
You betcha. Cuba, does it have a right to defend itself? Yes. I also count sanctions as war crimes. So guess what? They all have a right to defend themselves. And so by Rachel Maddow's logic, then these countries also have a right to defend themselves against the United States and its hegemony that is forcing upon the world.